Mm, 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 mm. Here, Jordan. Do, 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 do. Yeah. Do, 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 do. So dance, so dance. Hey, we just met you, and this is crazy. So here's our project, and watch it maybe.
Alright, Ariana is going to be saying words from Gveret Ravine. So, why does David sometimes have indecisions, like with Amnon?
Because he is torn between his role as a father and his role as a king.
Interesting.
For growth. One of my favorite Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, says that Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam. That means that a righteous person is not somebody who never falls, but is somebody who falls 7 times and then gets up and rises to that challenge again and again and again. A great leader's life is not straight up like that. It's certainly not straight up this way. It's more like the hills and the gradual inclines of dropping, but then getting up. The great Hasidic masters also talk about in the Kabbalists that there's this idea of Yerida L'Tzorech Aliyah, that a great descent is often necessary in order to be able to ascend, in order to be able to really elevate. And I think that's what makes a great leader. What's a challenge? A challenge is like a barrier, right? Do you see that barrier as a wall that you can't get through? Or is it a wall that you got to climb and scale and rise over? And that's the difference, I think, between a leader also, is their approach to challenge to a regular human being. Maybe have many mistakes, as you're aware of, as you're reading about. But he also was somebody who was an incredible, one of the great leaders of our people.
Rashi's very insightful commentary about the unclear actions of David in our chapters. In Shmuel Bet 12:12, the Tanakh tells us that David has taken the bones of Shaul and has moved them. Rashi explains that the reason behind this is that Shaul and Yonatan's bones were moved from their original location because of the way that they were originally buried. When Shaul and Yonatan were originally buried, they were not eulogized correctly, and therefore, out of respect, David moves their bones and gives them a proper eulogy. This shows that when David is faced with decisions, he picks to help others and make their burial a more respectable one.
How do you think David's personal decisions affect his political decisions?
Many times, David makes personal decisions not thinking of his role as the king. Most of his political decisions, however, are influenced by relatives such as Yoav.
Oh, that's a really interesting answer. I never thought about that. Did David act out of personal or national interests, and why?
Most of the time, David acted based on personal motives and not national ones. Even when he killed Goliath, he did it to satisfy his ego.
Those were the words of Gveret Ravine, said by Ariana.
Rashi says that one should never intentionally bring himself to the test, but David does this, and he fails. David tells God, "Sovereign of the universe, examine and try me." And God answers, "I will test thee, and yet grant thee a special privilege. For I did not inform them of the nature of their trial beforehand, yet I informed thee that I will try thee in a matter of adultery." So David asks God to test him, and when he knows that he will be tested, he fails anyway. And this shows that people should not intentionally put themselves to the test, because they will fail like David did.
One of the attendants spoke up. "I have observed the son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, who is skilled in music. He is a fellow and a warrior, sensible in speech and handsome in appearance, and the Lord is with him." Samuel 1:16-18. Before God really knew who David was, he was impressed with him because of all of David's qualities. From this point on, David and God had such a strong relationship. Whenever David acted from this point on, he had God on his mind, and he tried to accomplish positive actions and deeds for God because of their loving relationship.
And David fled from Naoth in Ramah, and he came and said before Yonatan, "What have I done? What is my transgression, and what is my sin before your father, that he seeks my life?" So when David flees, he flees from his nation because of his father, which is part of his family. And so he abandons his nation because of his fear of Shaul, his father-in-law.
I'm going to put this in the
And David's men said to him, "Behold the day concerning which the Lord said to you, Behold, I shall deliver your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it will seem good in your eyes." And David arose and secretly severed the shirt of Shaul's coat. So David doesn't kill Shaul because of his love for his father-in-law. And so again, His love for his family affects his decisions. And the king commanded Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, "Deal gently for my sake with the young man, even with Absalom." And all the people heard when the king gave all the captains charge concerning Absalom. So when David tells his nation to deal gently with Absalom, it's showing that his connection with his son is affecting his military leadership, and that causes his nation to be angry with him because he mourns so strongly for his son that it affects his relationship with his nation. And then Bnei Israel says, "By loving those that hate you and hating those that love you. For on this day you have declared that you regard neither princess nor servants, since I perceive today that if Absalom has lived and you had died today, then it would have been proper in your eyes." So it shows that David is more concerned with his son than he is with his nation.
And David said, "The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine." And Joel said unto David, "Go, and the Lord shall be with thee." So what this quote means is David is willing to fight the mighty Goliath because he believes in God, and he believes that God can help him, and he feels that he can go through any challenge when God's on his side. And yeah, he's just doing this because of his whole purpose, that he believes in God and he believes that God can help him get through anything.
Wait. You acted in secret, but I will make this happen in sight of all Israel in broad daylight. Samuel 2:12. Nathan told David how bad his sin was and how he's going to be punished in front of all Bnei Israel. The fact that David only realizes how bad his sin was when he talks to Nathan makes him out to be a political leader. The fact that he doesn't think through his decisions before he makes them is what makes him be a bad political leader.
David smote the Philistines and subdued them. And David took Methamah out of the hands of the Philistines. And he smote Moab, and he measured them with the line, making them to lie down on the ground. And he measured 2 lions to put to death, and are full to keep alive. David smote also Hadazar, the son of Rehob, king of Zobah. Samuel 2:8, 1-3.
David mustered all of the troops and marched on Rabbah, and he attacked it and captured it. Samuel 2:12-29. So that quote is when David makes a decision to protect his nations from other nations. Other nations have always been trying to hurt David and his nation. Whenever this happens, David protects his people because he wants them to be safe. David needed to capture this nation in order to protect his own. I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Forgive me. So when David is faced with challenges, depending on the type of situation, he acts differently. In all situations, he knows he has to perform his best because he needs to impress God. But on the flip side, he also knows that God has his back in almost all of the situations. Regarding his family, at first, like with Absalom, David acted in a way that was beneficial to his family with his problem, but later came to realize that his nation was more important. When faced with military challenges, in most of David's career as leader, he would always step up to the challenge and take it on. However, as his leadership progressed, he became a weaker military leader. When David is faced with problems in general, he is always taken into consideration his nation and their safety, but sometimes he lets other factors such as family interfere. However, in most situations, he acts in a way that will bring safety to his people. Sometimes David thinks about his actions before he actually does them, so that he would look good and therefore be a good political leader. However, as displayed through our quotes, we see that when he sleeps with another woman, Bathsheba, he does not think about how he will be viewed, and he looks like a bad political leader there. When other nations try to attack Israel, David uses his military skills and protects his nation because he cares about them so very much.